And how many times have you read this wonderful book to your young children, Time for Bed? It's written by Mem Fox and illustrated by Jane Dyer. Well, Mem Fox is going to be with us here today, and let me tell you, no matter how many times you've read it, you were doing exactly the right thing. The guru will tell us more, and that's coming up next on Books Alive. Hello, and thank you so much for joining us today on Books Alive. Every now and then, I get a chance to research an author because of the wonder of that person's books, and I get below the surface and I learn so much. This is an author that has taught me so much, and I am very excited to tell you that here in the studio today is the inimitable Mem Fox. Welcome.
Thank you, Barbara. Thank you.
This is just fabulous. Now, she's from Australia, so you're going to hear her accent as she speaks. Were you born there, Mem?
I was.
And then?
And then I went to live in Africa for the next 19 years of my life.
Wow.
From 6 months to 19. Then I went to college in London, and that's why, unfortunately, I don't have an Australian accent to thrill your viewers with.
Oh.
I have a purely English accent.
Is it? Okay.
And that is very distressing for your viewers, I'm sure. If I can channel my mother, I may be able to do an Australian accent somewhat later.
Now, you went there for drama.
To London I did, yes. Yes, I did. 3 years, mid-60s.
Okay.
You know, the whole deal was just absolutely sensational.
Were you a hippie?
No, I wasn't. I just loved the London vibe in the 60s. It was absolutely fantastic. It was the beginning of the Beatles.
Ow.
It was Mary Quant. It was the beginning of miniskirts started in the...
Were you a miniskirt wearer?
I was absolutely a miniskirt wearer for 3 whole years.
Nice. Did you ever see the Beatles live?
No.
No? Okay.
But the drama school I went to was incredibly strict. It was like a ballet school, really, in its strictness. And we were thrown out completely from the college if we were late to a class.
Wow.
If we missed a class, we were gone.
Ooh.
So, you know, we were incredibly, for people in the mid-60s, we were incredibly well behaved because we had a passion for what we were doing. We wanted to be there, and we didn't want to be thrown out for any reason.
Yeah.
You know,
so major
so we were,
structure.
It was very, very structured, very tight.
Yes.
You know, classes from 10 until 5 daily, and heaps of work outside class time, of course.
Wow.
Being drama school. So, no, it was a wonderful experience.
Oh, that's great. Okay, but there's obviously a huge gap here because we're looking at, is it 35 or how many picture books have you written now?
My 36th has just hit the
Congratulations.
bookshops. Thank you.
Congratulations. Okay, so now catch us up to speed here. What shifted you from drama to picture books?
I guess we had a child, and that made all the difference.
Huh.
And I wanted to know about books that she could read that were new to me. You know, we always want to read the books that we loved as children ourselves, but sometimes they don't fly with modern children.
Like what?
Well, Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie
you know,
didn't work?
Not really. Wind in the Willows, it's dated, you know.
Okay.
Grand stuff for older children on their own, but to read to a child, you know. So I decided that I would have to go and do a class in children's literature, which I did, and one of the assignments was to write a book, which I thought, frankly, was beneath me. I was 31, and I thought, this is a Mickey Mouse course because anybody can write a children's book.
Yeah.
And this is an insult to my brain and my status. I was a university professor at the time. And I just thought, no, this is way beneath me.
Yeah.
But that's why we had to do it, because we had to find out before we studied anybody how difficult it was to write for children. So the assignment was set to force a respect for children's writers.
Oh, how brilliant.
It was very clever.
How brilliant. And your book was?
The book that I wrote was the precursor, the embryonic Possum Magic, which was rejected 9 times over 5 years, but went on to become and to remain the best-selling children's book in Australia. After 27 years, Possum Magic is still available in hardback.
That's incredible.
It's an amazing story.
That's
it's a fairy tale.
Yeah.
And I just, it makes me very excited.
I love the part about how somebody rejected it 9 times. I mean, where are they today? You kind of wonder.
Yes. Well, we do wonder.
Are you good at this job or not?
When we, see a couple of them from time to time, our secret reaction is,
yes. I have to tell you that not knowing that, I just launched a new section on my website, abookandhug.com, and it's called Read Around the World.
Yes.
And I started with Asia, Australia, and Oceania.
Yes.
And the image that we have for that page is Hush, trying to get her tail.
Oh, beautiful.
Out. Yes.
Out from under the koala.
Because it just spoke volumes.
Yes.
It was just so fantastic. All right, so there we are. She jumped from drama all the way to 36 picture books. And okay, now talk about being a professor. What were you teaching?
I was first of all, I was teaching, and you don't have this subject here. You don't do it in America. I was teaching drama, what we call drama, okay, and it's not theatre. It's drama. There's a difference.
Okay.
Because it's not performance. It's a class. You're not putting on a play. You're not working towards a production. It is dramatic activity in the classroom. Right. It's probably a high level of guided play, a very high level of guided play.
Wow.
Okay. So I was teaching teachers how to do that at elementary school level. And then because of Chloe, our daughter, being a fantastically good reader early and a keen reader, I became terribly interested in how children learn to read, because she learned to read within 2 weeks of starting school, which she started at 4.5. So she learned to read immediately, and I knew nothing about reading. And I thought, how did this happen?
Yeah.
How on earth did this happen? I was frantically interested in it. And the college was in some dire financial problem at this point. All the universities in Australia are government run. There are no private universities. So the government was in a bit of financial strife at the time, and nobody was being hired. And the guy who was the main linchpin of literacy education in my university retired, and they said, well, we can't hire somebody has to retrain.
Wow.
So they paid me my entire year's salary to retrain in literacy intensively.
Wow. What an opportunity.
Was the most exciting year. I loved it. It absolutely changed my life. It completely changed my life. And I have since then devoured everything that I possibly could about how children learn to read, how they learn to read best, how they're taught here, how they're taught there, what works, what doesn't work. And it is the passion of my life. The absolute passion of my life. And that drama thing, I just look back at that drama thing and I think, who was that person?
Oh, wow.
Who was that person?
Yeah.
Just not interested in any way in that stuff anymore.
You were waiting inside there
for
to
the real thing
out.
to happen.
Yeah.
And while I was a professor, I wrote Possum Magic, because I did the course while I was a professor. So I was sort of doing 2 things at once. And that just changed my life. Because I wrote the book, I could have left teaching because the book was an instant success, but I loved teaching so much. And even though I kept writing very successful books, I didn't leave teaching for 14 years. I couldn't stand it. I just,
balance.
I had to be in that classroom situation. teaching is much more immediate fun.
Yes.
Than writing. You know, it takes years to see the results of writing. But teaching is, it's a human relationship. It's gorgeous. It's just, I love it so. I just adore it. I love teaching.
So now you're teaching all of us. All right, now we're going to let you teach us right now.
Yes.
Okay, so we're gonna take Mem Fox's wisdom and her guru-ness, and we're going to work our way up the age groups here with how parents can help their children with reading. So let's start with your grandson right now. Like if you have a baby at home right now, okay, Mem, what do our parents of babies need to be doing so that their children will become great readers?
Well, the easiest way of answering the question is to talk about this new grandchild of mine, the first. His name is Theo. He was very premature. He was 10 weeks premature. And so he was minute when he was born, you know, 2.2 pounds. And knowing what reading does to a child's brain and how important it is to do it in the first year of life.
What does reading do to a child's brain?
It stimulates the brain. You have sight, the book is seen, heard, you are close enough to be smelt. With a baby that's not in a humidity crib, you are holding it so there's touch. And sometimes, of course, if they're munching on the book, which they're desperate to do after a certain time, there is taste as well. And the brain only develops through stimulation. All
right, so we're building neural pathways?
Absolutely.
Okay.
You know, the synapses are being connected by neurons rapidly during a read aloud. And I was so worried about this premature baby. And I thought, look, calm down. Calm down. I speak all over the world about this. And one of the things that I have learned from, you know, brain people and psychologists and so on, is that the brain is only 25% developed at birth. So what happens after birth is how a kid becomes clever, happy, resilient. It is not set, you know, at birth. So we have the rest of the 75% to play with. And I thought to myself, okay, so he's born really early. This is not a disaster. It just gives me extra time to develop the 75%.
Right.
Now, of course, the first day of the birth was traumatic because it was, you know, sudden and you know, awful and dreadful. But so I didn't read him on the first day, which I don't regret because I don't think he could have coped with that either, frankly, having just been ripped untimely from his mother's womb, to quote Shakespeare. And so the second day, I took in, you see that tiny copy of Whoever You Are?
Yes.
I took that in because I'm well known in my city, and that's the big book of it.
Right.
And I didn't want to embarrass myself by
carrying the big one.
Carrying the big one, and everybody saying, oh, look, Mem Fox has got a grandchild and she's showing off and she's reading to it. You know, I didn't want that to happen. So I took in the tiniest book that I have of any of my books, and that was Whoever You Are. And I opened up, you know, the humidity cribs have the 4 little windows, 2 on one side, little round windows which you can open so that you can deal with the baby, and 2 on the other side as well. So I opened that door nearest his ears, and he was in hospital for 2.5 months, and I read him that book every single day.
Would you?
Until he came out.
Wow.
And now, whenever I say to him, so he's 6 months corrected age, okay? He's actually 8 months old, but he's 6 months corrected.
All right.
Now, when I say to him the first lines of this book, if I've got him over my shoulder, and I say the first lines of this book, he does a kind of cartoon swivel of his neck, and goes like that, looks at me, and his entire face smiles. Entire face.
So you know you connected with him over and over again.
He absolutely knows that book and loves the words of it. And as soon as he hears it, he's calm.
Mem, would you read it for us?
I would love to read you this book.
Great.
I love, love, love this book.
All right. Now listen to her.
I love most of them.
Because she is going to, I'm going to ask her later to teach us about reading aloud, but listen to how she does this, okay? Not only the words she wrote, but how she does it. Okay. And we didn't plan this, by the way.
Little one, whoever you are, wherever you are, there are little ones just like you all over the world. Their skin may be different from yours, and their homes may be different from yours. Their schools may be different from yours, and their lands may be different from yours. Their lives may be different from yours, and their words may be very different from yours. But inside, their hearts are just like yours, whoever they are, wherever they are, all over the world. Their smiles are like yours, and they laugh just like you. Their hurts are like yours, and they cry like you too, whoever they are, wherever they are, all over the world. Little one, when you are older and when you are grown, you may be different, and they may be different, wherever you are, wherever they are, in this big wide world. But remember this: joys are the same, and love is the same, pain is the same, and blood is the same. Smiles are the same, and hearts are just the same, wherever they are, wherever you are, wherever we are, all over the world.
Oh, man, that was wonderful. That was so wonderful.
Thank you.
Now teach us, because let's talk about what you wrote in the book. I mean, it rhymes, and there's repetition, and I know those are some of your big...
In fact, it's only repetition.
Only repetition,
it's
okay.
Rhythm and repetition.
Rhythm and repetition,
I often,
okay. All right.
have a combination of rhyme, rhythm, and repetition.
Yes.
This one is merely repetition and rhythm.
Okay, okay.
Now, I'm thinking there may be people listening who think they might like to write a children's book. Mm-hmm. And when you think of the text of this, it fits, you know, on half a page of typing. Mm-hmm. But that mm-hmm. half page took me a long, long time, nearly a year to mm-hmm. get right, mm-hmm. because I had to find one-syllable words. All the time they had to be one-syllable words, like smiles are the same, hearts, love, mm-hmm. blood, mm-hmm. pain. Mm-hmm. You know.
What is so important about the repetition and the rhythm?
There is something deep within us which is inexplicable, which relates to rhythm. Now, it may be to do with the tides, the moon, the sun, the rocking of a cradle, the heartbeat of a mother mm-hmm. against the child's head, and so on. So
it's instinctive.
It is. It's something in all of us. So when we have rhythm in children's lives, mm-hmm. it sort of bursts the balloon of like that. Mm-hmm. If kids are like that, mm-hmm. and you have rhythm in their lives, suddenly, and repetition, it's very calming. It's hypnotic. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It quietens. It soothes. Mm-hmm. It makes happy. Mm-hmm. It's a relief to the child. Mm-hmm. It's such a relief to the child.
And does that open doors for learning?
It does, because in order to learn to read, we need to be able to predict what the next word is, based on everything that's come before in the story or in that sentence. Mm-hmm. Prediction is the main skill that we need to learn as readers. Adult readers are just the same. Mm-hmm. We predict all the time what's going to be next in a sentence, or next, the next paragraph is going to be vaguely about this, and so on. Mm-hmm. So we predict all the time, and we confirm those predictions by looking at the print. Mm-hmm. But we need knowledge of the world, we need knowledge of language, mm-hmm. and we need knowledge of print in order to be able to do that prediction properly. Now, this rhyme, rhythm, and repetition, I hate to say that it's teaching prediction, because I don't want my books to teach anything mm-hmm. except a love of books. Mm-hmm. And a love of the book itself.
You're connecting.
But does teach.
Okay.
It does teach. You know, if I had, well, we're going to talk about struggling readers in a minute, so I'll be quiet about that. But,
okay.
But let me say about the babies, okay?
Yes,
my baby, when he's hungry or tired and the bottle isn't ready, or we're out and we have to get home before the feeding or the sleeping can happen, this child, when he is grizzly, will stop being grizzly as soon as he sees a book.
My goodness.
As soon as he sees a book, he completely calms down.
Wow.
You know, there's a famous book, I think it's written by Al Thompson or something like that, called Hand and Fingers Thumb.
Oh,
it's a Dr.
right,
Seuss
right,
book.
right,
you know, it's a Dr. Seuss shaped book.
Is it Perkins?
Al Perkins, thank you.
Yes.
And you know, at the end of that book, after millions of fingers, millions of thumbs, millions of monkeys drumming on drums, the last page goes, dum ditty dum ditty dum dum dum. And this 6-month-old child is just like, he almost sighs. He almost already knows that we're at the end of the book, and he sighs with just this deep satisfaction. Deep satisfaction. The love of the book, and it's the rhythm. He's crazy about Dr. Seuss. Mad about the foot book. Marvin K. Mooney, will you please go now?
And he's 6 months old.
And he's 6 months. He's absolutely crazy about, you know, Hop on Pop.
Mem, how many books, you've got a thing I read, and I want our audience to know this. How many books do you read a baby a day, and how many nursery rhymes?
Well, you know, I would say the nursery rhymes are terribly important. You know, if people haven't got books in the house, surely, even if we've forgotten them from our childhood, we can Google them and, you know, sing the nursery rhymes. So I would say nursery rhymes are tremendously important. Whenever there's a dull moment, you know.
Do hey diddle diddle.
You know, hey diddle diddle, the cat and the fiddle, the cow jumped over the moon. The diddle-a-doo, the doodle-a-doo, the diddle-a-doo, the dish ran away with the spoon. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Humpty Dumpty sat on a wall. Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. All the king's horses and all the king's men couldn't put Humpty together again.
Now, would you do this in the car as you're driving
all
along?
the time. Car, changing the nappy, as we call it, diaper, as you call it. This child of ours is never without language. Never without it.
Okay.
You know, sometimes we think we are overstimulating him and we'll leave him for, you know, like quarter of an hour just so that he can let his own imagination work. Poor little soul. And I just stand by the kitchen counter just watching him, having a really good time, being left on his own and being able to experiment and chat away to himself, you know. It sounds like he's solving the problems of the Middle East with the current language that he has.
That's
great. It's hysterical. It's hysterical, but he absolutely loves books.
Wow.
And that book there, Whoever You Are, because it's a board book, and I use board books a lot with him, he sits obviously here and I have the board book here. I separate the page, the next page. I separate it so that it's there for him to flip. And remember, this child was tiny and is behind the 8 ball, you know.
Yeah.
And he is turning the pages.
Wow.
He flicks the pages.
That's wonderful.
He loves it. I mean, you have to read fast, Bart, because, you know, he's so keen to turn the pages. And a flick, and a flick, and a flick. He just loves it.
We're done.
He's so disappointed when the book has no other page because we've got to the back cover. It's okay, sweetie, we can start again. We can start again. But what I'm trying to say is, I think that I, as a parent, would not have read to my child until she was about 2 or 3. I think that's when people think they should start reading to a child. Fortunately, when my child was about 10.5 months, there were books on the floor with her other toys, and it was a moment where I had talked to her endlessly for the first 10.5 months. I had sung to her endlessly. I had spoken rhymes. I'd done clapping rhymes and so on, but I hadn't read to her because I didn't think that a child could grasp it.
Right.
And there were 2 books on the floor, and we started to interact with these books, and they were dreadful. Both books were absolutely dreadful books. But it was the interaction. She loved it because I was with her. That's another thing I want to say to parents.
Yes.
This isn't about the book.
Yeah.
This is about us.
Yes.
It's about the child bonding with the adult. So it's not really, it's being close
and sharing
and honoring the child by spending time with the child, honoring it.
Right.
And I don't think we honor babies enough. I don't think I don't think we realize how much they love that honoring.
And being there and knowing they're the center of the world. The center of the world.
Absolutely. Yes. So when I look at the bad books that Chloe had two bad books at 10.5 months, and I need to tell everybody that she turned out to be a fine citizen and highly literate. So,
and what is she now? Please tell our audience what she is now.
For American audiences, it's difficult to explain. She is the deputy speaker in the state legislature. Okay. And that in Australia, all the states are like the federal government, and it is a full-time position.
Wow.
It's not. I believe some states here sit for like 30 days a year to pass the legislation that the governor thinks up. But ours is a totally different system.
So she did all right.
So that's
so you did okay, even though you started late.
So I started late, but I think most people start late. And you know, in the first year of life is when the brain's major connections are made.
Isn't that amazing?
If there are some connections, and of course with most people these connections are made, with most people, because of the way babies engage with us and demand attention and so on, and have to be fed and changed and sung to and so on. But if there are some connections in the brain which, if they're not made in the first year, it can't be made. I mean,
they get pruned out.
That is just terrifying.
Yeah. Who wants to lose one?
It's just
not even one.
Terrifying.
Yes.
And I keep saying to my husband, look at what Theo can do with books, and we didn't reach Chloe until she was 10.5 months.
Yeah, that's
and look
incredible.
What he is getting out of it.
Yes,
and the other thing I want to say is that people have this wildly incorrect idea about boys and books. Madness to think that boys don't like books. It is absolute crazy madness.
Okay.
If we can hook kids onto books before they can move, before they're crawling, before they can put their finger experimentally in a plug on the wall, before they can pull the saucepans out from under the kitchen sink.
Right.
You know, if we can hook them onto books before they leave us, we've hooked them for life.
Yes.
And we have really an 8-month window to do that.
I'm going to stop you there because I know out there in the listening audience, the parents whose children, the boys, they didn't do that work. They didn't know and they didn't get that done. And now they're out there with a 10 or a 15-year-old and they're wondering, okay, Mem, what do I do now? We're going to take a little break, but when we come back, I promise I'm going to ask her, okay? Stay with us.
Good nutrition can lead to great things. Find out how a healthy lifestyle can help your child succeed.
My name's Emily, and in 7 years, I'll be an alcoholic.
Kids who drink before age 15 are 5 times more likely to have alcohol problems when they're adults. So start talking before they start drinking.
And welcome back. Now, if you're just joining us, here in the studio today is the just one of a kind, the wonderful Mem Fox. And thank you again for being here. Now, we left off, Mem was talking about babies and what parents can do with little people at home to help them read. But, you know, some of us, the babies have grown up and they might be 10 years old now and they're reluctant readers. So I'm going to ask you, Mem, how do you help someone or help a child who really, this reading thing either is hard for them or it's not fun or they don't know what they want to read or whatever?
I don't mind if children don't read, Barb. I know that is a shocking thing to say.
Okay.
I mind desperately if children can't read.
Ah.
I mind desperately if they can't read. If they can't read at the age of 10, that is a massive problem which cannot be sweetened in any way. It's a disaster for that child, a disaster for her life or his life for the rest of their lives. It will colour their health, it will colour their self-esteem, it will color their job choices, it will color whether they're criminals or not. It's astonishing how important it is that children have in their first 5 years of life that 5 nursery rhymes a day, that 3 stories a day, the same story 3 times. It is essential that we do not have the reluctant readers at 10. I mean, not the reluctant readers, they can be reluctant, but the non-reader at 10 is a very serious problem.
Okay.
Now, we have to look at the non-reader at 10 and say, how come some kids are learning to read at 4.5? What has happened in the life of the 4.5 child that has not happened in the 10-year-old child? And we cannot skip it, Barb. The 4.5-year-old who has learned to read at 4.5 has been bombarded with literature that is divine, that is musical and tuneful and resonates with their hearts, that has something to say that changes their feelings. It's a magical experience. The 10-year-old who can't read has probably not had that experience.
Okay.
And once he can't read at the age of 7, he's then in a remedial situation, which sucks for some reason. It sucks the joy out of reading. It sucks out the delight.
How do you put it back in?
You read to them.
Okay.
There's no escaping that.
Okay.
You cannot do anything else.
So if you've got a 10-year-old or a 7-year-old who either can't read or maybe won't read, read to them.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And say, you know, you choose a book. I mean, Charlotte's Web may be familiar to the child. It may be, but if it's not, it's an excellent book to read because you don't show the movie. For God's sake, don't show the movie. I'll kill people who show the movie of Charlotte's Web. I'll kill them because the language is perfection.
Right.
So you say, kids, you know, say there are 3 kids in the family. Kids, there is this book that has just got the most incredible beginning, and I started to read it, but I think we should read it together. This is the first line, kids. This is the first line. Listen to this. Listen to this.
Yes.
Where's Papa going with that axe?
Yes.
Fern asked one morning.
Oh.
Oh my Lord, where is this book going?
Yes.
What is this axe about?
Yes.
And hook them in, because there are kids who will feel humiliated that the parent is saying, I would like to read to you.
Yes.
Okay.
But you're making it joyful. You know,
Absolutely. Television off?
Yes.
Oh, the other reason why we have to read to kids is that they learn language. You know, the television has to be off. We cannot have the television on in the morning and off at night. The television is on when people are watching it. It is not background noise, because otherwise people won't hear language, they won't be talking by 3, they won't be reading by 8.
You said that children learn language because it has meaning for them. You know, they figure out it's going to get them what they need,
Yes.
and they can, you know, connect to other people. And you said reading has to have the same kind of meaning for children.
Exactly. So unfortunately we only have minutes left for this interview, because I could talk non-stop for 36 hours about the banality of most of the reading material children are given when they are learning to read. Why would you bother?
This is her book, Reading Magic. We can't talk the 36 hours, although I would love to, but
it is all in there.
It is all in here. So if you're out there going, ooh, just find it. She can talk to you through the pages.
There's a new cover because it's been updated.
Okay.
So if people don't recognize the cover, there is an aging photo of me on the cover, which is quite different from that one, and but it's updated. So I recommend the new edition.
All right. Now you said there to read the story aloud. Now talk to us about reading aloud, because you've got some tips on that make it not like how everybody else does it. Tunes?
We need to read as if the words were music.
Aha.
So a book of mine, Koala Lou, starts like this, and as I'm saying the words, I would love your listeners just to picture the words on a stave of music going up, up, up. Some of them are long notes, some of them are short notes. They're coming down, but it's music. It's not da 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 da. There's zest, there's life, there's love, and there's music. So this is the first line. The first couple of lines of Koala Lou go like this. There was once, so immediately we're going up. There was once a baby koala, so soft and round that all who saw her loved her. Her name was Koala Lou.
Oh, it is. It's like a little lullaby.
It's like a lullaby.
Yeah. How would you do that with Charlotte's Web?
Well, Charlotte's Web has lots of different characters in it. You know, you just
change the voices.
You change the voices a little bit. You don't have to act it out. You just have to enjoy it, Barb.
Okay.
You just have to enjoy it.
Okay.
You know, don't read as if blah 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 blah.
Yeah.
You know, and let me just say that authors choose words very carefully. They choose words like paints. So it's not only music, it's art. So there are certain words like jumped or leapt, and you sort of jump on the word jump, and you leap on the word leapt, and hoped. And she hoped she wouldn't cry. You know, she longed for her mother to say it again. We lengthen the word long because it says she longed for her mother to say it again. There is on my website a lesson in how to read aloud, well, a spoken lesson with things written on the screen. So I hope people find that helpful. But it is tuneful, it's music, it's art, it's joy, it's delight. You know, when I hear people reading without delight, I just think, guys,
you're missing it.
Sometimes we read aloud so that kids fall asleep, but not for that reason.
Yes.
You know, they should fall asleep at bedtime,
right.
but not in the classroom and not in the daytime when we're reading to them.
Now, your latest book is Let's Count Goats.
Yes, it is.
Would you read that one for us?
I would love to, thank you.
That would be wonderful.
I would love to. I hope there's rhyme, rhythm and repetition in this one. And I hope that children learn to count with this one as well, of course. Let's Count Goats, illustrated by Jan Thomas, written by Mem Fox. Here we see a mountain goat frisking in the sun, and here we see a city goat going for a run. But can we count the seaside goats? I think there's only one. Here we see a drinking goat, and here a goat is eating. But can we count the little goats, lost and loudly bleating? 1, 2. Here we see an airport goat looking for her cases, but can we count the pilot goats with goggles on their faces? 1, 2, 3. Here we see a show-off goat playing on the bars, but can we count the rowdy boats careering round in cars? Here we see an overgoat, and this one's going under. But can we count the crossing boats terrified of thunder? Here we see, I hope there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, yes there are. Here we see a sandpit goat playing with his toys. But can we count the trumpet goats making all the noise? Here we see a summer goat with nothing left to mow. But can we count the winter goats huddled in the snow? Here we see a fireman goat climbing through the smoke. But can we count the rescued goats trying not to choke? Here we see a soccer goat roaring at the ref. But can we count the cheering goats who must be going deaf? I hope it's 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. It is. Here we see the story goats and all their shining eyes. Now, can you count their pricked up ears? You can. I'm not surprised.
Now, Mem, you believe in reading that same book over and over and over again.
I do. In fact, I spoke to a teacher yesterday in Baltimore at the Baltimore Book Fair, and she said, I read a book of yours just last week to some children. And my response was, which was dreadful, you know, because she was such a keen and gorgeous young girl.
Yes.
I was very nice to her afterwards. I said, you only read it once?
Ah, but why?
Because the more familiar children become with the book, the more they like it, because they can predict what's coming then. They can join in. You can stop and say, can you count the little goats lost and loudly? And they'll shout bleating, and they've never heard the word bleating in their lives. They've no idea what bleating is. But in the context, they learn the word, they can join in, you know, 2, 3, 4 times in one day. Not necessarily, I would always do it twice in the first reading, but later in the day another time, first thing the next morning another time, and then the kids will say, read the goat's book. Read the goat's book, because they learn to love it. They just love the, you know, we love predictability. We love predictability.
Well, you are proven that over and over again with your repetition, with your tunefulness in your reading, with the rhythm, the repetition, the rhyme in your books, children learn to read at phenomenal ages, 2.5, 3, 4 years old, and love to read.
And you know, the startling thing is that around the corner from me in my neighborhood, some years ago, a mother came and said, we are sorry to, you know, ring your doorbell and so on, but we know that you wrote Koala Lou and we love it. And the name of the child has now escaped me. It's just dreadful. Josephine. Josephine would love to read it to you. And Josephine was 3. And I thought, this will not happen. Or if she reads it, she will read it, there was once a baby koala, and she would read it in that hesitant learn to read voice. She read it beautifully, and it was clear that she didn't know it off by heart. She was actually reading the words. And the fascinating thing, which I think should be a ding-dong bell to every teacher of reading in the world, that child cannot phonically decode a word. She was able to read an adult text about the meaning of dreams. She could read it at sight. She could understand what she was reading, but she could not go, hot is hot. She just knew hot.
So she had a sight word, or she got
exactly.
the whole thing,
and you know, it's because she kept seeing text over and over and over and over again.
And you say reading is meaning, not sound.
Absolutely.
I think
and we focus
really
on sound, and it's nuts.
Yes. They're trying to sound it out, and they've completely lost the sense of the sentence and the joy of what the words are saying.
And they can't work out what it means. And
yeah, they're just little pieces.
And even by the time they've worked out what the word is, whereas, you know, a book of mine like The Magic Hat, the wizard, meanwhile, skipped out of town with a mischievous smile, and of course on his head was the fabulous hat that made all the magic. Wherever it sat, that's the book.
Right there.
And we have the word mischievous.
Yes.
Now, if the child has been read 15 times The Magic Hat, when they get to trying to read it themselves, as children do, they turn the pages at the right time. They're doing it off by heart largely, but they're starting to focus on different words and which words mean what. A child who's been read 15 times The Magic Hat is never, never, never going to go m, I, s, k, h,
right.
I, v, o, us. Never going to do that. They're going to say mischievous.
And you're a firm believer in if a child is reading, oh, the magic hat, you tell them the word is moved. No waiting around, no trying to guess it.
If
just put it in
if they
there.
need the word, tell it, but they can't be looking at your face. They have to be looking at the book.
Okay.
But as soon as they don't know a word, just say it so that they can keep going.
And stay with the wonder
of it.
Stay with
the wonder of it.
Okay.
Keep it moving. And also, if they're going, oh, the magic hat, I laugh at them. I I say, guys, that's not the way I read.
Yeah.
That's not the way we read. Okay? It goes like this, and I'll tell you, and you can do this every single time after this. You go, oh, the magic hat, and then they're into it, and they want to read so badly because it's such good fun.
That's great. And that's what it's all about.
It is.
That's what it's all about.
It's about delight.
Yes.
It's about joy, and it's about the repetition of brilliant books.
All right, now we're going to have to end, but I want to ask you before we go. There are different ways of teaching. I know in New Zealand and Australia, you have a way of teaching. We do it differently in the United States, and I'm sure you've talked about this to groups in the past. Is there anything quick and easy that you can tell us and just...
I can explain the difference very quickly.
Okay.
We start with a whole book so that kids are enlivened by literature. We start with a whole book.
Okay.
And we move down from the whole book 2 sentences, which we will write up and discuss and so on. And then we move to the word, and then we move to the sound.
Okay, so you start with the whole and move
so we
to
go
the part.
The whole to the part.
Okay.
And here, in general, it goes from the part to the whole. And I just think the way we do it is easier.
And is there? Can you give us any statistics on the literacy rates? Have you got any recent comparisons?
The literacy rate in New Zealand is particularly high, and Australia, Canada, England, and Finland, and New Zealand are the top 5 in the world.
Okay. Is it like 66% or something?
Oh, it's more than that.
More than that,
yes.
Okay.
66% of children in Australia read for pleasure.
Ah.
That's that statistic.
Okay, okay.
The literacy rate is much higher than 66%.
All right.
Yeah.
And it's about the joy of reading.
It is.
It's about the joy of reading. Wow. Well, we haven't been able to even scratch the surface here with her fabulous 36 books that she's written, but you get a sense of her. And, you know, she's written books for babies. Heck, she's written one for us, but they're books for everybody in between. And thank you for dedicating your brilliance and your energy and caring so much about our children and this incredible literacy that's just so life-altering. Thank you. Thank you.
I just burst with passion for it. I cannot help it.
Well, you are a gift to all of us, and so are your books. So thank you so much for coming, Mem.
Thank you.
Thank you all so much for being with us. I've got most of Mem's books on my website, abookandahug.com, and parents, go get that reading magic and start reading to them today. You can read the 3 books and give the 5 nursery rhymes to the little bitty ones, but heck, just keep reading and repeat those books. Right, Mem?
Absolutely.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys. And be sure and come see us at the library.